Was the 1969 moon landing faked? A new film starring Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum, among many others, takes a tongue-in-cheek look at that concept, and it's got the full support of the real NASA as well. Let's talk about Fly Me to the Moon. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the brand new film Fly Me to the Moon. This will be released in theaters on July 12th, and it's an Apple TV Plus original film. So pretty soon after that, I imagine probably this fall, you can see that on Apple TV Plus as well. Before we launch into the specifics, though, of this movie, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews on the channel, and just about every day I post something new. So there's always a lot to check out. With that in mind, please consider subscribing. Click that like button. Comment below. All that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. And my Letterboxd profile is below as well in the description. You can click the link there and see my Letterboxd profile. If you're unfamiliar with Letterboxd, it's a really cool website that allows you to rate movies and make lists and all of that sort of stuff. And you can keep a diary of all the movies that you've seen as well. So you can follow me on there. All right, so let's get to Fly Me to the Moon. This features Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum, Woody Harrelson, Ray Romano, Jim Rash from Community, and this was all directed by Greg Berlanti, who I am more familiar with as a producer. He has a heavy hand in the Arrowverse shows on the CW, and he was a part of Riverdale, and he has directed a few movies, though, including Life as We Know It with Katherine Heigl back in the day, and Love, Simon, which for me is one of the best movies lately about, coming of age as a gay teenager. So I thought that was a great movie. He did a great job there. So this is actually his latest, or the first movie he's directed since Love, Simon, and that was 2018, I want to say, so about 6 years removed from that. But the basic premise here is that we are in the 1960s space race, and obviously the U.S. wants to beat Russia to the moon. And so a relationship develops between the director of NASA in charge of the Apollo 11 launch, played by Channing Tatum. His name is Cole Davis here. And a marketing specialist brought in to sort of fix up NASA's public image and make people happy again about the space program. And Scarlett Johansson plays her. That is Kelly Jones here. And Woody Harrelson plays one of Nixon's sort of goons that hires the Kelly character to eventually fake the moon landing because they're unsure if it's going to be, a successful mission or not. And so that's, sort of the bulk of like the latter half of the movie is sort of focused on that. All right, so that's all we're going to talk about with the plot. Let's get to the specifics of the film. So look, Scarlett Johansson is, I think, a really great actress that doesn't necessarily get the credit she deserves as a comedic actress, because this is certainly a kind of tongue-in-cheek look at everything. I think she's great here, and she spent so much of the last few years doing either, the Marvel stuff with Black Widow or doing more, independent dramatic films like Marriage Story and stuff like that, I think a movie like this is really, really good for her public image too as an actress, because I think we kind of forget that she sort of came originally from that world of comedy. A lot of the movies she was doing coming up were sort of more in that vein, and she kind of wanted to be taken more seriously as an actress. I get that, but I think this is a great pairing between the actress and the character. She is great in this as Kelly. I would not be surprised if, she gets a Golden Globe nomination for, comedy film for this performance. Of course, the Oscars, no, never with a movie like this. But because the Golden Globes does separate between, drama and comedy, I think we could see a nomination there for her, because she's really excellent in this. Channing Tatum is also good. I'm not positive that this is the perfect role for him. He certainly looks chiseled enough, and the role was originally supposed to be Chris Evans, and I guess Scarlett Johansson was still attached at that point, so that would be kind of weird, because then you've got two Marvel titans, squaring off again in another movie. But I think that's probably a little too on the nose, Chris Evans. So Channing Tatum, is fine here in the role. I'm not sure if he's giving us anything we haven't seen before. But they do have pretty good chemistry on screen. I will say that their romance is one of the weaker elements, I think, in the movie because it is very, very standard. It's very predictable. It's cute, and yes, they do have chemistry together. But I think that's one of the weaker elements of the film. But we get into the director the directing of the fake moon landing, and we have Jim Rash from Community available for that, and he is playing this like super gay anal retentive director. Everything has to be just so, and he plays those parts very, very well. Again, not necessarily maybe something we've seen different from him in his roles, in Community and some of the other things he's done, but always hilarious. And he's certainly one of the bright spots of the movie. Ray Romano, I've been saying it for years and years. Now, I'm a huge Everybody Loves Raymond fan, but I've been saying for years that he is a really, really solid actor. If you've seen The Big Sick, he was great in that. If you saw The Irishman, many Oscar nominations and everything, I thought that was a pretty bad movie, but he is one of the brighter spots in that as well, and he's great here too. Some of his scenes have some emotional heft that I think played very well. And let's talk about the sets and the production design of this. So Greg Berlanti was not sure when he got this script if NASA was going to even be like on board with it. Are we going to be able to use their logo and this and that and the other thing? Not only that, but they apparently loved the idea and loved the movie or whatever, and they let them actually shoot on location a lot of the stuff in Florida at Cape Canaveral. So a lot of that stuff is fairly authentic. And boy, the sets and the costumes and all of that really, really are stunning. Nothing left unturned, I think, in terms of the set design and the getting the period down to all the signs and just all of that stuff. The only thing that kind of stuck out to me was at one point Scarlett Johansson's character says, I can't even with this or something, and I'm like, all right, well, that's a very common current phrase. I don't know that they were saying I can't even in the 60s, but all right, we'll let that slide a little bit. But one thing I loved about the production design, and this is I guess more in the costume department, but not something that I typically even notice, but I thought this was a really, really subtle, kind of nice thing that Berlanti and the costume department did. So everybody is wearing these pretty basic, like for the guys, the white button-down long sleeve shirts, with a black tie and all of this. And Channing Tatum is always in like a turtleneck or maybe a couple buttons up top here, but it's a colorful outfit. So he's really kind of standing out from everybody else. And same with the Kelly character. They put Scarlett Johansson in these like really eye-popping like pinks and these different colors that are in a stark contrast to every other woman and really the guys that work at NASA too on the screen. I thought that was a really, really nice kind of subtle touch. To really direct the eye to these two leads. Not that we need help doing that, obviously. They're two of the hottest actors on the planet in a physical sense, so your eye's always going to be drawn to them. But I just thought that was something I noticed that, okay, that's a nice little touch. But then we get to some of the negatives, which I already talked a little bit about, maybe Channing Tatum being a bit out of his element against Scarlett Johansson, even though they have good chemistry. I think acting-wise, he's not quite up to snuff with her here. But more than that is just the tone of the movie seems off in a few places. At some points they're trying to, make this slapstick type comedy, and then other times they're really going for this kind of emotional heft. And sometimes it works for sure. Like I mentioned, some of the Ray Romano scenes. Okay, that's fine. But I think for the joke ratio probably only lands, maybe half the time or less. And then there's one particular character's exit that is very, very bizarre. And I'm not sure what the thought process there. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be funny, but it was like, one character exits at one point, and it's just like, all right, that was sort of weird and kind of oddball and came out of nowhere. So it's those sort of elements that I didn't quite love about the movie. But look, there's certainly enough here to give it a recommend. It may go on a little bit too long at 2 hours and 12 minutes. They could have shaved off, a little bit here and there. But the attention to detail that Berlanti and his crew did with the costumes and all of the NASA stuff, right down to these small details, and I'm sure NASA veterans kind of helped them out with some of that stuff. I think that stuff played really, really well. So overall, definitely enough here to give it a recommend. I leave Fly Me to the Moon with a B-, and you can see that in theaters July 12th and probably this fall on Apple TV Plus. Thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. I'll see you next time. Bye.